Thank you, Daniela. It is time for the headliner brought to you by Miller Lite, and I'm really looking forward to this. Believe it or not, we're the exact same age. I know people find that hard to believe, but Kirk Gibson joins us,
53?
former Tiger. Yeah, 53. Hey, I like it. Hey, I'll go 43, Gibby, if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we just
Kirk's a
don't
little
look
bit.
it.
No, we definitely don't. But Gibby, and let me begin this by just saying that I have been aware of Kirk Gibson a lot longer than he's been aware of me because he was a high school star at Waterford Kettering, played at Michigan State, and then was a Tiger. And being someone of the same age, I would assume in my class it was always Gibby and Rick Leach were like the two guys from my birth year that were always, I think, the best athletes in the state. But with that said, it's great having you. I first want to ask you. I get this asked all the time. How is Kirk Gibson feeling? How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I'm going full bore. I have Parkinson's. That's been diagnosed since 2015. Had it probably since 2007. You have to adapt. It adapts to you somewhat. You learn how to handle it, but it poses new challenges. So you have to change your therapies. You have to change your attitude sometimes. You have to change your medications. And it takes some getting used to, but I've had great support. And the fight goes on, not just for me, but for many others that we try and help through my Kirk Gibson Foundation.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the Kirk Gibson Foundation. I know it does wonderful things. If somebody listening right now, a lot of people are, and they want to get involved, are there some events or anything coming up, or can people just go to a website and contribute if they'd like?
Well, go to the website, kirkgibsonfoundation.org, and there are some events. We are planning on having a golf day on August 17th. That is sold out. However, we're also going to have on the same 14th to the 17th weekend of August a virtual golf, and you can go there for details so everybody can play, everybody can contribute. We promote teamwork. That might shock you a little bit. Collaboration, cooperation, and teamwork. Bring people together that don't normally maybe hook up, link up. We look for good matches. We've got a lot of money working on research. We respite programs through the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation. We had a big gala last year. We've got the Big and Loud program, the alumni program going on around the state, just trying to help people. And I took a call yesterday from somebody who just was diagnosed and try and help them get through that first stage, get them to understand they've got a lot of happy days ahead should they choose. But, you do have a new normal, and you have to attack and you have to fight back. And, when you're really down, you can maybe get a hold of me or see me somewhere, and I'll try and lift you up because you're going to have to lift me up in a day or two as well.
Let's move on to the Tigers a little bit. Certainly Spencer Torkelson's been signed. They're going to have their summer camp, their redo. A lot of young arms. But obviously, Kirk, you've been there. You know what it is to be a Major League Baseball player. A 60-game schedule. Do the Tigers have a chance in your mind?
I think they do, and they probably think they do. The games are more important. You have a 60-game sprint, not 162. You get off to a bad start, you're toast. There's been some talk about Mize and Manning and Screwval. To be, a lot of people would like to see them. They were dominant in the minor leagues. They have been. They've got great stuff. They're as good a talent as we have. And you might not want to rush them because they always say they want to keep that extra year of eligibility for free agency with the club. But I would argue this is a perfect time, 60 games. You can do a 6-man rotation. You can send them down to the taxi squad, I believe, if you want to give them a rest. Then they get to go deeper into the season if you make it into the playoffs. If not, you send them to fall ball or you send them to instructs. And it's a real valuable. You get them into big leagues. Get the attitude about it's good pitching. I believe in defense. I believe in good base running. And they've worked so much on it, and the Tigers front office has done a heck of a job in this time during the pandemic of coaching the coaches. I mean, these guys have worked hard. They have seminars, a lot of Zooms, meetings going on, and they're coaching the coaches. There's continuity. They've got a ton of new metrics and new toys and tools. It's a different game. Rapsodo. You probably don't know what that is, but stay tuned because we'll be talking about that. It
All
measures
right.
swing speed, angle, your arm speed, the rotations on your curveball. They have a different way of looking at how you're accomplishing things. And if you're wondering why your curveball is getting hammered, you adjust the spin on it a little bit, the speed on it a little bit. That's the ticket. Sometimes pitches blend to each other, you get your butt beat in. We don't want to do that. So, the Tigers have been taking it on the chin the last couple of years, and I think the attitude's good going in. It's if you can't go for 60 games, you can't go. But you want to get to those playoffs, get those young kids with some reps under their belt in the big leagues. It's a tough business decision. Do you save them for that 6 year now, or do you burn a year in 60 games and maybe make it to the playoffs and lose them after 5? But I say it's time to go now. You're tired of them losing, aren't you, Art?
Yeah, you bet. Hey, Kirk, I'm right there with you, buddy. Yes, I definitely am.
You've
I'm
written a few
tired of it.
times.
Let me ask you this. With that said, how about a guy like Spencer Torkelson? Do you see him maybe making a major league debut in the 60 games if he's ready, or do you think they'll hold him back?
I don't. I think Riley Green's on the squad. They'll give him some time up and down. Um, they're gonna try not and burn that extra year of free agency. But the experience of being in camp right now, plus we're also going to play. You either put them down in Gulf Coast League in Lakeland with young kids, or you bring them up here with the top 60 in the organization right now. Get them exposed to that as much as you can. So if Mize is down there throwing BP and they're playing games against each other, that's who Riley's going to see. He's not going to see Casey Mize down there in Florida. So I'm saying they're
Right, right.
challenging these young kids, pushing them. They're taking right to the brink. If they fit, they'll plug it in.
Right. I mean, and I agree with you. That's a good thing. That's what you want. I mean, you want on those. I guess they'll be in Toledo for those 20 games if the guys that don't make the 40-man squad, and they'll be playing against each other. But this is really high end talent. Have you been impressed with what the Tigers have done, especially drafting wise? Because the last two drafts have been heavy positional players as opposed to stockpiling the arms that they have now.
Well, they had the arms before. I went to Arizona on something else, and I watched Torkelson play down there at Arizona State. I thought he was very solid in his approach and his swing path. He's got good pop. He's not a burner, but he moves fairly good. Personally, I'd like, they put him to third base, put him to right field. I'd like to see him at first base first. He's a young kid. If he could turn into a good first baseman, I mean, you got shortstops, who they say is maybe the most important position on the field. You got catcher, you got the middle infielders. That first baseman, he stops a lot of errors by those infielders. Can you pick it? You got good footwork over at first base. They'll Eddie Murray, you come over there and he's talking to you, and he's setting you up. So that's that would be a dream come true for the Tigers if he could play first base. And I'd like to see him over there to get some experience over there and give him a go at it. Let's see if he can be one of those guys, because you look into the future, you pretty much project the bat, but the glove, we'll see how it goes. But he's going to be playing on better fields than he's ever played, and he's a gamer, and I hope that it works out that way.
Well, I mean, you get me all fired up. I want to ask you about a player that I'm really, when the trade was made and he came over to Detroit, I'm at a loss for words because I can't understand why he hasn't developed. Maybe you can answer this question, Kirk. Maybe you can. I don't know. But I always thought that Jamer Candelario looked like he was a real player. I know he struggled. I know he's had a few injuries. I mean, is time running out on him?
I don't think it's running out. I like Jamer. He's shown talent. Some think maybe he's laid back, which he kind of is, but he's a good kid. He's determined. Sometimes it's just timing. It's the right mix around you to get you to the next level. He's come over here. I think he felt a lot of pressure, and we all put expectations on these guys, and it affects some differently. Came over from a different organization. Sometimes you come over from different leagues. It's not that easy. It's a tough game. We'll see. But at this level, if you don't get her done, the Tigers got to make a decision on not only him but other players. You'll move them out, move the next guy in. There's a time frame for everybody. But he's solid. He's got the ability. Get him relaxed. Make him feel that maybe not too much pressure. Sometimes the terminology, you have to change it a little bit to get him that final finished product. So good kid, good player. He could be a surprise this year and have a heck of a year.
Well, I hope he does. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I wanted to ask you what I think is really unique about your baseball career is that you've hit 2 huge home runs in the World Series. Obviously, the one off Eckersley as a Dodger is the one that will live forever. Considered one of the most exciting moments in all of World Series history. Yet here in Detroit, your hometown, you're known, or at least for me, is clinching the World Series in '84 against Goose Gossage in the '84 against the Padres. I think it's odd. I mean, when you're in Detroit, do people talk about the Detroit home run? And then when you're everywhere else in the country, do they always bring up the Dodger home run?
Yeah, it's more people have watched the Eckersley home run, but those, I don't really look at it like that. I just did my part and chipped in. Sometimes you feel guilty about people giving you too much credit for what you did. I did that because of my teammates set me up, put me in a position to do it. And they supported me when I was down. They kicked me in the rear end. I kicked them in the rear end. Those were magical teams, and they were put together properly. And they had masters running them. Sparky was a master. Tommy Lasorda was a master. They worked magic. They did things early in the season, so when we got to the playoffs, we were not nervous. We were loose. We had fun. We just went. We came right out in San Diego that year. We just attacked. Then Tram in Game 4 with a couple dingers. Then in the 5th game, I hit a couple. Dave Bergman had great at bats during the year. Darrell Evans, Lance Parrish hit a home run off of Goose. Before that, mine, I guess, just gets a little more play, because he was my first AB in the major leagues, and he owned me, and he challenged me, and he was supposed to intentionally walk me, and he didn't. So when you do that, it puts a little more drama to it. Hey, thank God I did hit those 2 home runs, because there's certainly enough negative things to say and were said about me and my lack of playing ability from time to time.
I mean, I know you well enough. I know Sparky, when you first broke in with the Tigers, said you're the next Mickey Mantle. And he always took it back and said, maybe I put too much pressure on him. But if I know you like I think I know you, did that even bother you that he would say that you're the next Mickey Mantle? I think it kind of went in one ear and out the other.
Cool. Yeah, that was
Pardon
cool. I said that was cool. I mean, come on. I hoped I was. But, I did some Mantleish things. But I wouldn't say I fulfilled Mickey Mantle's shoes. But that's just Sparky. He did it for a reason. Sparky also stood in front of me in 1983 and acted like he was going to be a defensive back. And I said, get out of there. I'll run you over. He goes, come on, big boy. I play press coverage on you. I went out there and looked over my right shoulder, and he kind of bit like on an out play. And Dave Roseman was throwing me a baseball, and I smoked him. I rolled him, steamrolled him. He got up, his glasses came off his head. He was crying. He said, that SOB is crazy. I said, hey, I'm crazy, or the SOB that challenged me? I was always good for a challenge. I failed many times, but and that's just kind of who I was. I'm not saying it was always the right thing to do, but that's kind of how I operated. It's kind of how I operate today. And you got to learn where to govern her at. It can be valuable sometimes. Sometimes it can be disruptive, but that's why we try and grow up before we say bye-bye. Sparky we had this little deal where he'd say, I'd walk by his office, he'd go, big boy, and he'd go like that. Come in here and shut the door. We had a deal when we had to have a talk, but the door was shut. I would say what I had to say, and he'd say, "You got to get something off your chest." Then he'd say, "Are you done?" I'd say, "Yeah," and he'd say, "Out the door." And one day I hit the home run as a walk off in like the 10th inning. I went by, I was nuts, as you're well aware. I was very vocal. I believed in affirming good things. He says, "Big boy, come on in here." And he looks at me and he says, "Do you hit that home run if Lewis Whitaker doesn't make that play in the 9th inning? Lewis needs some love." So I said, he says, "You got me?" Out the door. So when I came in, when you guys came in, where'd you go? Me or Lou Whitaker? You went to me, and I said, "Hey, you guys are at the wrong locker. I was happy to hit that home run, but how about Lewis?" And it was a great play. I mean, it's not like he taught me. It's cool when you give people like that, because you were just walking around, and all of a sudden you knew you were doing it. You had the juice to start to flow a little bit. You had a little treat right there, and you want to screw up. It was crime time. And that's valuable to be able to give other people that as well. You don't have to hog it all. It's not about, that's the greatest thing about we're being a world champion. It's winning the World Series and nobody caring who gets the credit. That's what it's all about. I mean, it's good to be people to fawn over you and give you credit all the time, but it's more fun and more valuable to do the other. That's who taught me. Sparky mentored me to do that, and I've done it today.
You're one of my all-time favorites. I really, I appreciate you just for the human being that you are, and also our friendship. Thank you for joining us on the Headliner.
All
Best of
right,
luck.
guys, we'll
Anything I
see you
get.
there soon.
All right. Thanks, Kirk. Take care, buddy.
All right, buddy. I'm gone.
All right. There you. Yep. There you. There you have it. That is the Headliner, Daniela Kirk Gibson, and the Headliner brought to you by Miller Lite. It is the original light beer, only 96 calories, tastes great, and it is available for delivery. Yeah, I could go on with Gibby for a long time. I know that I have, but Daniela, he is one of the great people that you're ever going to meet.